Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday, December 1st. Welcome back to, I guess we could say, reality. I mean, the Thanksgiving holiday was pretty awesome, at least at the Alvarez household, traveling to northern Georgia. And hopefully you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and a weekend for God, family, country, freedom, truth, justice, in the American way. So hopefully you had a great time, whether you stayed home, whether you traveled. But we're back at it, and we were still at it, actually, in the sense of monitoring what's going on out there in the 24/7 news cycle. So as a journalist, it's difficult to, again, unplug from all of that when, there's a lot going on in the world, but was able to do that a little bit. It was nice to do it, but still, of course, on the back of my mind always is things like that, God, family, country, and freedom, for us to continue to enjoy things like, traveling to wherever you do over the holidays or go to a sporting event, that kind of thing. Always good to, let your hair down, have a good time, and just enjoy family and check out the sights. We're going to get to some of that in just a bit. Before we do, let's go to the fact that we have three things that are happening today right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, at least two that are live in this broadcast. And then there will be another broadcast possibly later today. I'll get to that detail in a second. But at 12 o'clock Eastern, we know that the First Lady, Melania Trump, and Second Lady Usha Vance, they'll participate in a care package event, and that's at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. So as soon as we see a live feed there, we'll take you there live for that care package event. At 1 o'clock Eastern, there's a White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt. That was added to the president's public schedule just this morning. So we'll take a look at that live right here on the network. We'll have a number of live interviews until then. Of course, some great sponsors to talk about, but also some footage from the weekend. Why not, Also at 4 o'clock, the president signs congressional bills in the Oval Office. Now, right now, that's that second possible broadcast. If we know that it will go from closed press to open press, we'll be live for those signings of the congressional bills by President Trump. If it's something that is fed to us maybe later tonight, we can always upload that on our social platforms. Meantime, the Office of the First Lady posted a Christmas video early this morning. Let's take a look. Again, that was posted this morning by the Office of the First Lady of the White House there. And we're going to be seeing the First Lady and the Second Lady, Usha Vance, at Joint Base Andrews in about an hour or so. And then after that, we'll be seeing Karoline Leavitt live from the White House for that press briefing. So we know there's a lot of stories going on, both domestically and internationally. We're going to cover some of those, talk about some of those coming up. But we're just, getting kick-started here on this Monday after a wonderful holiday. Of course, Thanksgiving, one of my faves. I know some of you guys out there, the same thing. And man, after that food, it's time to do the New Year's resolution a month early. So I started it today, just eating better and working out. I've said it before, but this time, how many times can you say you're going to do something and then not do it? It's not great, right? So this time I really believe that I'm going to follow suit with that. Hopefully the crew doesn't tempt me with any pizza or donuts, that kind of thing. But anyway, so as we get warmed up, again, we're going to be covering some stories, having some live interviews. We have a couple hours of live coverage here for you this morning, again, on this December 1st. So happy December to you. And our We the People segment. So over the weekend, Destination Dawsonville, Georgia, Our family, we were in northern Georgia over the weekend, and on the way home, we stopped at the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. All right, so Bill Elliott, the late great legendary racer. He's from Dawsonville. It's usually awesome. It's called Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, for those of you NASCAR fans out there. And then his son, Chase Elliott's one of the top racers that are out there, a fan favorite now 8 years in a row. So let's just get a short clip of that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it in just a second.
Coming out of the theater, you can see we have license plates from virtually every state hanging on the wall. This is the car that Chase won his first race in at Watkins Glen.
So in my travels, whether it's covering, the campaign trail with the rallies, I remember in Dayton, Ohio, an awesome rally there with President Trump. And in Dayton is the Air Force National Museum. And I remember posting some videos on True Social some time back, just seeing all the different military planes. So whenever there's a pretty cool museum, in my travels, I try and, stop there with the family. And then the guy there, the tour guide, his name's Scott, right? So his hat, it said "We the People" on it. I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to have to at least interview the guy about some political stuff. So here's a little soundbite of that, talking about just simple things, common sense things like freedom in America.
I think obviously we need people that really understand what freedom's all about, and be very careful about who they vote for and who they put in office. That will do everything they can to protect our freedom and really support the Constitution of the United States.
Sticking to common sense, always a good thing, right? And I remember Scott saying we're supporting President Trump. And of course, on the right side of history, when it comes to a number of things, we're also looking for a number of other things to happen, of course, over the next 3.5 years. But I'm sure a lot of people talked about politics, maybe over the Thanksgiving dinner table. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe not so much, but hey, it is what it is. All right, let's go to a couple of sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's start with All Family Pharmacy. You see there, tomorrow is actually the last day for the buy one, get one free sale. So the BOGO sales here at All Family Pharmacy. And Patriots, it's the moment to stay prepared. This sale started on November 24th. It goes through tomorrow. So when you buy one ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, or mebendazole, you can get another free. So RSBN viewers, we know the importance of readiness. We don't wait for someone else to step in. We take responsibility for our health, our families, and our future. And it's simple. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can place your order. A licensed physician will review it. And then once approved, your medication ships directly to your home, fast, private, and reliable. This Black Friday event lasts just 1 week and supplies are limited. And if you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters, all you have to do is visit that website you see there on the screen, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, before December 2nd, secure your Black Friday BOGO deal. Actually, tomorrow will be the last day for that. Let's also go to Monetary Gold. Every major financial disaster begins with a few simple facts that a lot of people ignore. In 2007, it was overextended credit, reckless lending, and misplaced faith that everything will hold. Well, it didn't. Banks failed, savings vanished, retirements were cut in half. The lesson was painful and unforgettable. And today, some of those same indicators are returning. The auto loan defaults rising, commercial real estate strained, and private credit has grown far beyond its limits. So they're not theories, they're patterns, and patterns repeat when people refuse to act. So for more than 25 years, Monetary Gold guided Americans through every economic storm with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and one constant truth. Real value endures when confidence fades. So you can study the evidence, act on reason, give them a call, 888-617-7994, or go to rsbnforthegold.com today to learn how owning tangible gold and silver can anchor your savings before the next shock arrives. And you'll get that free info kit there too with gold, monetary gold. So great company there. Always good to interview some of the people that are the either spokespeople or owners of various businesses, especially those that are sponsors, of course, here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's go with some interviews now, and then we'll cover a couple stories that we're following out there in that 24/7 news cycle. Let's go now with Gerald Malloy, Major Gerald Malloy. Sir, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Matthew, great to see you. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving, and thank you for RSBN and all that you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, right back at you in Vermont there. And for those of you that remember, Mr. Malloy ran against good old Bernie Sanders in Vermont. So thank you for at least trying to overtake that seat. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Vermonters need some representation in D.C. They don't have any right now. Zero.
Yeah.
Going well.
No, I hear you. So let's talk about Vermont right now. Just how are things going there in the state? How are things going in the Northeast? And then we'll tackle a couple of the news items that we're looking at.
Good. Things are, good for me and the family. We had a nice Thanksgiving. Got the whole family together. My wife became the president of Vermont Federation of Republican Women recently, which is a great organization. And we had a reorg meeting up at for the Vermont GOP very recently. So Chairman Paul Dame is going to continue on. As you recall, 2024, Vermont had the greatest state gains in the entire country, overcoming a steep majority. So we're turning Vermont red. It's taken time. We've got people like, across the state doing great work, and we're going to keep driving on.
Yeah, definitely, to protect, the basics, right? The Constitution, our freedoms, and, the non-woke policies. I mean, there's just a lot that people are still trying to push through. So let's talk about these. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you remind me of something. I spoke at we had one of the No Kings rallies happened, the version 2, recently, and up in Chester, Kelly and Roy Spalding put together a great organization, public speaking event after the No Kings event. And I spoke at that, and I thought, one of the things that's going on here is a lot of the folks here just don't recognize leadership. And they just don't recognize that, we've been going in a bad direction for so long. We have a president that is leading the country back, America first, not America last, in the right direction. And so it was a great event. But I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, no worries. So we were talking the other day prior to Thanksgiving about the fact that some of these congressmen and congresswomen decided we're going to try and tell the military and others not to obey the commander-in-chief's orders. And sir, before I get your reaction on that, can you tell the people your military experience, and then if you can react to that happening?
Sure. I was fortunate enough to attend West Point, graduated, commissioned, took that oath to become a commissioned officer, served 22 years in active duty, Europe, Asia, Persian Gulf, Middle East, decorated veteran. What I heard, I watched that video, a short clip with 6 members of Congress, including 2 senators, Senator Kelly and Senator Slotkin. Very disturbing. And I thought about it a lot. I mean, that's 2 weeks ago plus. I think it's the continued demise of the Democrat Party. They've got nothing to offer. It's just a continued effort to divide the country, because they have nothing to offer, and they're just trying to get people to hate President Trump. And that what they said there is really undermines the authority, right from from platoon leader up to chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and commander-in-chief per the Constitution. That undermines that authority. It was very disturbing. And people talk about sedition. I think it was. I think if they can prove the intent, I don't know. But, when they said, I get it because I watched it a couple of times. When they said that the administration is pitting the uniformed military and the intelligence community against the American people, that is 100% wrong for members of Congress to say that. And like I mentioned, taking the oath, bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution. That's not what's happening. And I think there are some actions that are being looked at, particularly with maybe Senator Kelly, who is retired, bring him back on, per the UCMJ, bring him back on active duty. Let's talk about what you said, which is he should not be saying stuff like that. It's bad.
Exactly. And there's a number of people that are just trying to destroy the country, whether it's from within, whether it's from an exterior standpoint. So we know that it's always been indirectly a battle for freedom, has it not?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, big picture. I mean, when I think of the Democrat Party and the progressive left that has taken over the Democrat Party, I think that is what it's all about. It's to take away freedoms, and like I said, they have nothing to offer. We have a president here who's doing a great job, and it's fighting him tooth and nail every step of the way. But he's trying to create safety for the American people. He's trying to restore our economy. That begins and ends with the economy, and he's doing things, to bring jobs back into the United States and making things back into the United States, and the left is just fighting him. It's hard to kind of understand that, especially from these six folks who took some form of an oath. To see them push this division. We got to get past division. Let's all get on the same page and move forward. America first, because we've had 12 years of America last. It's not working. So
yeah, it never has. It never will. So America first, you're hearing America only out there. Just people are saying, you know what, let's just get our country to where it needs to go and hold on to, our freedoms and the constitutional rights that we have. Now, Malloy is your last name, of course. I believe that's Irish, correct?
yes, I'm both sides 100%.
Awesome.
Fourth and sixth generation. Yeah,
So
Boston.
there's a teacher named Ethan Burke in Ireland who on X, I found out about this story, and he wasn't going along with the woke ideology at the school and wouldn't call one of the students by the they pronoun. And now the guy's been arrested because of his speech, because he doesn't believe in what, what the woke says they should. So that's the thing that, kind of like in the Bible, when there's a watchman on the wall, you look, you're seeing, okay, there's something in the distance. You see what's happening in Ireland, you see what's happening in England. You don't want that here, right?
Right. Well, you mentioned freedom, and that's First Amendment, freedom of speech, and four other major important things. And the president, I saw some of the comments he made about Thanksgiving and Governor Walz, and that's freedom of speech, and he was spot on. But welcome back. We need it. People should be able to say, you don't have to force ideology on other people. And I thought about it a lot. In running for office, I've come to see much more clearly, some of the things that have been going on for many years, to include our whole education system with people, teaching kids what to think, not how to think, and pushing ideas on them. And I think, again, progressive left, that start with the kids.
Over the weekend,
making progress.
we were in Dawsonville, Georgia, on the way home from a trip in northern Georgia, and we saw this Georgia Racing Museum. And I was talking to the tour guide. He was wearing a We the People hat, somebody on the right side of history, and talking to us about the late great Bill Elliott, NASCAR driver, Chase Elliott, his son. But to the education point, he said in one of the local districts there, one of the teachers literally put a litter box in the classroom because a while ago one of the kids said they were a cat. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I know we've all spoken about over the past year, but to hear a first or a secondhand story that it actually happened. And then the other day as well, I just want to get your final reaction on this. I saw in New York City, there was a protester in front of one of the NYPD or ICE vehicles, and the vehicle was going about 5 miles per hour, and the guy was trying to stop the vehicle. It takes a lot of brainwashing to think that you could stop an SUV. I mean, this is what we're going up against, right?
Right. And, up in Vermont, there's, that kind of thing is happening in the education system also. But, well, I think particularly in Vermont. And when the six senators or six members of Congress made those statements, I think Secretary Hegseth made a comment about a stage of TDS. So Vermont has that also, but common sense and reality are seeping in slowly but surely. And I think, like we talked about, turning Vermont red, it's going to take a while. Used to be straight red, but it's coming back because of reality and common sense. And yeah, some of these outliers, I think I think even the folks in the military will see, okay, these six members of Congress, we know you can refuse an illegal order. Every service member knows that. The cases of that really escalating are few and far between. And for them to do that, unfortunately, I really think it was a guised attempt to further divide the country, because that's where they're going to get their votes, is if they can divide and get some of the folks to come over to their side. I think Trump is doing the wrong thing in the current administration too, and they're not. They're doing the right thing, but yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a tough time to see these kind of things happening out there. And just your final word going into the holiday season here. We're already in it. But, just the importance of God, family, friends, of course, faith, all the things, to keep that the main part of what we all do here in this country, instead of what the left wants to happen, which is quite the opposite.
Right. I went to church yesterday, and let's keep Christ in Christmas, and be thankful. I'm thankful every day, just for all the good things that have happened. And I'm happy to be fighting this fight. And you mentioned freedom. It is kind of what it boils down to. We have folks that want to control you. I ran against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is all about Bernie Sanders, but it's all about the people for the government. No. It's the other way around. Socialism is not going to work, and so I applaud President Trump and his continued. He said, 10 months now of great success. He's going to keep marching on. I think Vermonters are going to slowly see the light, because I think Republican Party is the common sense party of solutions, not hate. We're not.
Exactly. Major Gerald Malloy from Vermont, thanks again for joining us. And you know what? If you get a chance to run against Bernie again, please do it.
Yeah. One more thing, this whole legal orders. I want to give one order, not that I'm entitled, but I want Army to beat Navy in a couple of weeks here.
Good stuff. Army beat Navy, Navy beat Army. We'll see what happens. Major Gerald Malloy from Vermont. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. All right, it's 11:23, Monday, December 1st. All right, thanks again for joining us right now, as we have a number of live elements to get to here at 12 o'clock. The First Lady, Melania Trump, and Second Lady, Usha Vance, will participate in a care package event at Joint Base Andrews. We'll have that live here in just a bit. At 1 o'clock, the White House will have a press briefing, of course, with the legendary Karoline Leavitt. And then at 4 o'clock, the president will sign congressional bills in the Oval Office. Those are the things that are happening on the president's public schedule today. Of course, we're monitoring the 24/7 news cycle. What's going to happen in Venezuela? Will anything happen there? We'll see. We're tracking that. We know that the DOJ also has until December 19th to release all of the Epstein files. We also are tracking stories about voter reform. When is that going to take shape for our country? As we know, we're a month away from the year of 2026. Later that year, of course, will be the huge midterm election on the heels of our 250th birthday in our country. Also, will there be any more indictments when it comes to the deep state? So we're tracking all the different stories that are out there and bringing you live footage right here in conservative media on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a couple sponsors quickly as we continue our broadcast. Again, thanks for joining us, as it's Venice AI, a great sponsor here. You can see that the display at Venice AI is quite awesome. You can check it out if you'd like. So what we know is this, that ChatGPT and some others out there, can now reference all of your past conversations. And if you feel comfortable knowing an AI platform has access to all of that, well, maybe keep using that. But Venice.ai/RSBN and the app at Venice AI is great because it lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. So it uses this leading open source AI model to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installations of anything. Your messages are encrypted, and your conversation history is stored only in your browser. So anyway, you can go to Venice.ai/RSBN, a great sponsor here at the network. Also, download the Venice app. Also, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Of course, the flagship product you see right there on your screen. There's a number of other great products on the website there. So go to angelpaste.com, use the RSBN promo code. It goes a long way. Still have time to purchase some items before Christmas right there, angelpaste.com. Also, another item that you can purchase for Christmas right here, covepure.com/RSBN. $250 off for a limited time. And if you're against tap water and you want something that tastes better, it's healthier for you, it takes 99.9% of the toxins and the stuff that's in tap water right out. Well, you get this right here, Cove Pure. Drink pure, live pure, Cove Pure. You got that website right there, covepure.com/RSBN. Use the QR code. Again, $250 off right now for the holiday sale. All right, it's about the bottom of the hour, 11:26 Monday, December 1st. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
The Black Friday buy one, get one free sale is here at All Family Pharmacy. And Patriots, this is the moment to stay prepared. From November 24th through December 2nd,
we'll have the opportunity to buy one, get one free for ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, and mebendazole.
RSBN viewers know the importance of readiness. We don't wait for someone else to step in. We take responsibility for our health, our families, and our future. It is simple.
So get access to over 300 plus medications at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN.
Place your order and a licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication ships directly to your home, fast, private, and reliable.
The Black Friday event is just 1 week, so jump in now because supplies are limited. If you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters most, visit
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN before December 2nd and secure your Black Friday BOGO deal.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's about 11:30, the bottom of the hour here on December 1st, Monday, December 1st, 2025. Happy December to you guys out there. Let's go to something that happened within the 24/7 news cycle. The president flying from Florida to Joint Base Andrews over the weekend. We have that full press gaggle. Let's go to that right now.
the answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't do that.
Would you say it went well?
I would say it went well or badly.
Can you talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was
You're talking about the two men?
the second strike to kill the two men?
No, he said he didn't do it. He said he never said
Would you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't do it, so I don't have to make that decision.
What are your
Mr. You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S.
Right.
Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan
one?
Romando Hernandez.
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden. Look, Biden didn't know he was alive. But it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, that it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
Mr. President, can I just clarify, do you think the U.S.
That includes this country, okay? To be honest, I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this week, next week. I think it's going to be a very important race. It'll be interesting to see Honduras. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, what is the second part of your question? No, I don't have a deadline. I have a deadline when the war is over. And hopefully the war is going to be over. 27,000 people killed last week. 27,000 over the last 3 or 4 weeks. 27,000 people killed. That war should end.
President, just for clarity, if there, on the Venezuela boat strike, if there were a second strike that killed wounded people, even in the first strike, are you thinking that would be legal?
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were 2 people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
I have great confidence.
Are you saying there's no second strike?
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those 2 men.
Do you have any concerns about how those boat strikes have been carried out at all?
Very little, because you can see the boats, you can see the drugs in the boats, and each boat is responsible for killing 25,000 Americans. So, and they're doing an amazing job. And you know, you just look at the numbers. The amount of drugs coming into our country by sea is infinitesimal compared to what it was just a few months ago. And each boat, think of this, each boat on average is responsible for the death of 25,000 Americans.
On immigration, your administration made a lot of moves throughout the last few days after we know that an Afghan national is the suspected shooter of these National Guardsmen.
People that shouldn't be in our country. This way.
So you announced that asylum.
And that includes Somalians and it includes plenty of others.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any kind of time?
We don't want those people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit.
And then
But it could be a long time.
You said that.
We don't want those people. You understand that?
I understand.
You understand it?
I understand.
Who are you with?
I'm with News Nation. My name's Lisa.
News Nation. Great. Let me just say this. We don't want those people. Does that make sense? You know why we don't want them? Because many of them are no good and they shouldn't be in our country.
What do you mean by those people?
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
Off of that, in that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find offensive or retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely, sure.
Because you don't need
You have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walls.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about
You mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
that became Americans? Are you trying
Well, we'll
to
see.
revoke
I
their
mean, yeah,
citizenship?
we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a fight or somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize absolutely.
What do you mean by
Yeah, do you have a question? Yeah.
What do you mean by reverse migration?
It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country. You take a look at the people that were allowed to come into our country. We're paying a big price for it, and we will for years to come, including the recent killer of two wonderful National Guards people. And I'll tell you what, that animal should not have been allowed to come into our country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Have you spoken to the Andrew Wolf's family? Can you give us an update on
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you? They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on Andrew Wolf?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew. And he has a chance to make it, but he is, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents, too, and the only thing I can say, they were devastated. They can't even believe it.
It's absolutely devastating. Of course, those are children. Do you plan to bring the next troops to the White House?
Yeah, I do. I've already suggested it. I said, when you're ready, 'cause that's a tough thing, come to the White House. We're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor you.
I do have one more question about Witkoff, because you mentioned, and this was asked previously, can you tell us what day Witkoff is going to meet with you? And then on that, is that meeting...
Sometime next week.
Okay, you don't have it. Is it early next week, late next week?
Sometime next week.
And
President, on health care, because it's so important to so many Americans.
You know, one of the reasons that healthcare can work is because of what I just did with favored nations. You're going to have drug prices coming down 500, 600, 700% because of me. In other words, we're going to have the lowest drug prices, tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It's called favored nations, and you don't talk about it. It's probably the biggest thing to happen in medicine in the last 100 years, and it can have a huge impact, positive impact on pricing for healthcare.
Are you any closer on that?
What about extending
on picking a new Fed chair? Are you any closer on that right now?
I know who I'm going to pick. Yeah.
Kevin Hassan.
I'm telling you, we'll be announcing it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is a rocky flight. We're going to get out of here before something happens. They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it, or if you want to release it, you want to have it released.
Yes,
News Nation, failing News Nation. News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Please, can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI. What part of the body? It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing. Goodbye, everybody. You too.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good morning once again, and welcome back in here to the Studio B at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. You just watched the president's press gaggle, of course, from Florida to Joint Base Andrews. And speaking of that Air Force Base in Maryland, the First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance will participate in a care package event at JBA. That's happening in about 15 minutes from now. At 1 o'clock, there will be a White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt. At 4 o'clock, the president signs congressional bills in the Oval Office. Right now, it's listed as closed press. If it opens up, we'll be live for it. So a lot going on this December 1st in this new month of December, okay? It's Monday, of course, and hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. And welcome back in to the studio here. We have a lot of news topics and stories going on to track and follow. In the meantime, before we get back to the White House, as there is the Office of the First Lady posting a video about Christmas there at the White House. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy because tomorrow is the last day for this huge BOGO event. So buy one, get one free. And of course, the Black Friday BOGO sale, which is continuing, of course, is here at All Family Pharmacy. This is the moment to stay prepared. You know, from November 24th all the way through until tomorrow, people had a chance, and now still do, have a chance to buy one ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, or mebendazole. You get another free. So, of course, you can purchase more than that if you'd like. RSBN viewers know the importance of readiness. We don't wait for someone to step in. We take responsibility for our health, our families, and our future. And it's simple. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can place your order, and a licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication ships directly to your home. So it's fast, private, and reliable. So this Black Friday event lasts just 1 week, and supplies are unlimited. So if you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters, just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Tomorrow's the last day for that BOGO. So BOGO sale, buy one, get one free. Let's also go to Monetary Gold. Every major financial disaster, of course, begins with a few simple facts that a lot of people ignore. Back in 2007, it was that overextended credit, reckless lending, and misplaced faith that, quote unquote, everything will hold. Then it didn't. Banks failed, savings vanished, retirements were cut in half. The lesson was painful and unforgettable. But for more than 25 years, Monetary Gold has guided Americans through every economic storm with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and one constant truth: real value endures when paper confidence fades. So you can study the evidence, act on reason. The number that's on the screen there gets you that free info kit on gold and silver. So it's 888-617-7994, or go to rsbnforthegold.com for more information. Also, MyPillow, another great sponsor here at the network, /RSBN. You see the Cyber Monday promo code there as well with RSBN. Special offers, save up to 80%. So mypillow.com/RSBN. As you guys know, a lot of great products on mypillow.com. A shout out to the great Mike Lindell, doing great things for our country, not only at MyPillow, but also within election integrity and security. All right, so it's 11:45 Eastern Time, 11:46, Monday, December 1st. Let's head back to the White House, the Office of the First Lady. They sent out this video this morning, and then also right after that video, we have about 5 or 6 minutes of some footage as well to show you. So if you haven't gotten into the holiday spirit, well, Merry Christmas, it's here. Take a look.
sorry. No problem. You can see.
All right, so some raw footage, as you saw there at the White House, looking live here at Joint Base Andrews as the First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance will participate in a care package event there at JBA. So as soon as that gets kicked off, we'll take you there live. Following that, we'll have some live interviews. We'll go over some of the news of the day. And also at 1 o'clock, of course, the White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt as we get warmed back up into the news flow. I mean, it's been even over the past few days, of course, with the holiday vacation, it's still, on top of mind for a number of people out there, of course, is our freedoms in this country. And we'll be looking forward to seeing a number of live events here on Right Side. It's 11:54, Monday, December 1st. Let's go through a few of our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see there, Venice AI. This is a beautiful display, by the way. Check it out, Venice AI, or just go to venice.ai/RSBN. This is all about AI being a personal assistant. Now, ChatGPT and others out there, it's not really encrypted. Some of the conversations get stored in different places, not with Venice. Venice has got you covered for that. So you have the privacy with it, but also you're able to use, again, it's encrypted messaging, and you're able to have a personal assistant right there with Venice. So basically type in a question, it answers it very quickly for you. It's a personal assistant, it'll help you out. So just give it a try there. Just download the Venice app, Venice AI app on your iPhone or your Droid. And also, how many people out there are on the side of iPhone versus Droid? I know it's an age-old debate, but iPhone, go iPhone. Anyway. Venice AI. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Actually, if you'd like to donate to the network first, you can text RSBN to 801-801. Also, go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Of course, any money that you give to this network goes to growing the network, expanding the network. But also, there's a staff here, of course, but the lights, the camera, the live footage that we get to see every day, day in and day out, all cost a few bucks, of course. So if you'd like to donate to conservative media, this is an opportunity for you. RSBN, all you got to do is text RSBN to 801-801. All right, we're about 4 minutes from the top of the hour, following a number of stories out there. Let's go back to the White House quickly, though, because we know that the First Lady, Melania Trump, spoke to some of the White House staff there just a minute ago. So let's take a look at that clip.
As we gather in the glow of the Christmas season, I want to begin with a simple, heartfelt message. Thank you. Each of you represents some of the best qualities of our country: generosity, patriotism, service, and the belief in giving your time and talent for the greater good.
And you can check out more of that video with the Office of the First Lady, but also with Margot Martin, White House staffer there in Washington, D.C., as we're getting a lot of live feeds, videos, social media videos on the fly here at the network. So we're just monitoring it, sharing it with you. Again, if you're just joining us, thanks so much for streaming in with us as it's Monday, December 1st. We are 1 month away from 2026. 2026, quite the year already without even being in that year. We have the 250th birthday for the United States of America. We have in November the huge midterm elections. We have the 25th anniversary of 9/11. There's just a lot next year. And of course, conservative media is the place to go to watch what's going on because, again, we're on the right side of history with you guys, How else can we say it? All right, so again, 11:58, Monday, December 1st. You're looking live there at Joint Base Andrews. In just a couple minutes, that event will start. Well, we'll see, once again, the First Lady Melania Trump. We'll see the second lady, Usha Vance, as they participate in this care package event at JBA. Then at about 1 o'clock, there'll be that White House press briefing. And at 4 o'clock, the president will be signing congressional bills in the Oval Office. Right now, that's closed press. It will possibly be open press, so we'll see what happens. We'll monitor it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we dive into some more of the serious, real things that are happening out there in this country, I know there's a lot going on. Let's do one more segment here for you. It's called the We the People segment, Destination Dawsonville, this time in Dawsonville, Georgia. So the family and I were in northern Georgia for the holidays. Great to be there. Great to be just in a beautiful part of the country and meet some great people. On the way home in Dawsonville, though, we stopped at this Georgia Racing Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. Man, getting warmed up after being off for a bunch of days. And so it was great to meet some people there. And it was about Bill Elliott, the late, great Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott, his son, and just the start of stock car racing. So we're going to take a quick look at that video, and then we're going to listen to a soundbite from the tour guide there wearing a pretty cool hat, a We the People hat. But let's just take a look at that video quickly.
Coming out of the theater, you can see we have license plates from virtually every state hanging on the wall. This is the car that Chase won his first race in at Watkins Glen. I think obviously we need people that really understand what freedom's all about, and be very careful about who they vote for and who they put in office. That will do everything they can to protect our freedom and really support the Constitution of the United States.
Common sense. It was great to see that Racing Hall of Fame there in Dawsonville, Georgia for our We the People segment there. And, you know, I was looking on X over the weekend too, and actor Kevin Sorbo, who's been on the program before, quoted George Orwell recently on X as we dive into some deeper stories and more things that are more serious as we, you know, get back into it here in December. This quote that actor Kevin Sorbo quoted from George Orwell recently said, quote, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it." And I'm looking at some countries out there, more like England and Ireland right now, is they're drifting away from truth. And we don't want that here in this country, as you guys know. So I thought that quote was quite profound. And also, I just want to thank God for conservative media and citizen journalism. A shout out to everybody that's on X and on Truth Social. If you have a podcast, if you're, all the things, and it's not that traditional media source. Thank God for you guys. Thank God for conservative media like RSBN and many other outlets that are well known. But also, for those of you that don't have an outlet that you're with and it's your voice and it's your show, or it's your, whether it's just on X, and it's not really just on X, the information war that we know is real, that's what it's about, is being able to speak up and to be active in the court of public opinion because your voice matters. Great common sense words from conservative analyst Robert Barnes that I heard a few days ago. Again, you have an opportunity, even if you work in some other industry, but if you have X or if you have Truth Social or Facebook or whatever, speak your mind. Now, if there's anything that, crosses a line like inciting violence, that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about keeping everyone informed as to what's going on. That's the job of journalism, right? So the citizen journalists are doing such an awesome job out there with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, in some case millions of followers. And then you parlay that in with conservative media, because we're not mainstream. We don't take talking points from anybody in the sense of things that are on the wrong side of history. So being on the right side of history is what it's all about. So again, shout out to all the citizen journalists out there, and shout out to conservative media, of course, Right Side Broadcasting Network, one of the players in conservative media, because, millions of people have watched this network over the years. Think about it, since 2015 till now. I wonder what the viewership count is of all of the people, including on this broadcast right now. Inauguration day I think it was 6 million plus through all social media platforms. On election night, it was 5 million plus. And a lot of people, of course, consume their news on social media, like on X or on Truth Social, or if you're on YouTube, or if you're on the great Rumble or our app. So the times are changing, as you guys know. The traditional dinosaur legacy media, a lot of them are lying anyway. Most of them, if not all of them. So now it's free game in the sense of, hey, pick who you'd like or watch a bunch of us. But at the end of the day, it's all in conjunction, or all on the side that most of you that are watching right now, what you guys believe in. And that's how we're going to take this into the future, until the return of Jesus, right? That's what I'm hoping for, believing for, and living for in a way. Because again, it comes down to what we the people matter, what we the people, the definition of we the people, in my opinion, is God, family, country, freedom, truth, justice, and the American way. You can't go wrong if you have that as your focus. In my opinion, you just can't. You just can't go wrong with that common sense thought. And yes, there's investigations to do. Yes, there's stories to cover. And let's talk about some of them right now. The New York Post headline says 11 U.S. warships and 15,000 troops now in the Caribbean as Venezuela tensions escalate. That's from the New York Post. Some say they are mainstream. Some say they're not. It is what it is. But when it comes to certain breaking news stories, it's okay to look, I think, at some places and just kind of find out what the truth is, and then hear it from the White House, hear what they're saying, hear what journalists are saying, and get that truth. But that is true, that there are warships and troops in the Caribbean. As we'll see what happens if there's anything with Venezuela. So we're monitoring that story. Also, the DOJ has until December 19th to fully release the Epstein files. Another important story we're following is that of election reform. Of course, securing our elections, extremely important to the future of our country. Simply to have free and fair elections through voter ID, same-day voting, paper ballots, proof of citizenship, and on. Another story we're following, of course, is the fact of any indictments. Will there be any more? What's going to happen there? We're monitoring it. Also, I saw a story on Breitbart News recently that the Ohio State House Representatives in the Buckeye State, Gary Click and Mike Davila, recently announced that the Ohio House of Representatives has passed House Bill 486. It's the Charlie Kirk American Heritage Act. It's legislation that works to preserve the ability for educators to discuss the positive impact of religion on American history, highlighting its consistency with freedom of speech and emphasizing how imperative it is to reduce politically motivated hate and violence in society. So this is out of Ohio. This legislation, developed by Representatives Click and Davila, follows the tragic death of conservative Christian activist, of course, Charlie Kirk. And the quote that I see from the press release, Charlie was a committed Christian whose life and work will serve as a testament to the power of conservative ideals combined with a legacy of faith for generations to come. So that is an act that they're wanting to have passed in Ohio to get into the education system. Great to see that. We do have requests in for interviews for both representatives in OHIO. And those of you watching in Ohio, I used to work in Columbus. I get it. Ohio State Buckeyes all the way. I get it. All right, so 1208. I'm not saying I'm for the Ohio State Buckeyes going all the way. I'm not saying that, but I get where you guys are coming from. You love your team there in Ohio. It's 1208. Let's go to a couple sponsors. We'll have a number of other stories we're looking at. We have some live interviews coming up. We have a lot to cover today, including once we see the First Lady and the Second Lady there participating in this care package event at Joint Base Andrews. And then at 1 o'clock, the great Karoline Leavitt for the press briefing. So looking forward to that coverage here. Glad you're with us. We're kind of watching together today on this December 1st, Monday, December 1st. All right, let's go to All Family Pharmacy. I do know this, that tomorrow is the last day for this buy one, get one free sale at All Family Pharmacy. So if you buy one ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, or mebendazole, you'll get another for free. So RSBN viewers, we know the importance of readiness. We don't wait for someone else to step in. We take responsibility for our health and our families and our future. So it's simple. All you have to do is go to that website you see there on your screen, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can place your order and a licensed physician will review it. Once approved, your medication ships directly to your home, fast, private, and reliable. This Black Friday event lasts just 1 week and supplies are limited. And if you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters, just visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Tomorrow is the last day for this great sale. Great company there. Great to have those kind of medications shipped directly to your door. Let's also go to another sponsor here in Spring, Texas, angelpaste.com. Of course, and if you're looking to buy some, Christmas gifts 24 days early, pretty good to do that. You can go there to angelpaste.com. Great conservative company, a great small business, as I think it was this past Saturday that was Small Business Saturday across America. A shout out to every one of those out there. Angelpaste.com. You have that flagship product right there on your screen, a number of other products as well. But use that RSBN promo code at checkout. You'll get the discount. Always good to save some money. All right, it's 12:10, Monday, December 1st. All right, we as soon as we see the First Lady and the Second Lady there, we'll go there live. In the meantime, let's go to a few other things that we're tracking here at the network. Director, did we play the Dawsonville video twice already? I'm just double checking that. Okay, we did play that twice. Let's do this. We're going to reset a little bit. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
The Black Friday buy one, get one free sale is here at All Family Pharmacy. And Patriots, this is the moment to stay prepared. From November 24th through December 2nd,
we'll have the opportunity to buy one, get one free for ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, and mebendazole.
RSBN viewers know the importance of readiness. We don't wait for someone else to step in. We take responsibility for our health, our families, and our future. It is simple.
So get access to over 300 plus medications at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN.
Place your order and a licensed physician reviews it. Once approved, your medication ships directly to your home, fast, private, and reliable.
The Black Friday event is just 1 week, so jump in now because supplies are limited. If you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters most, visit
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN before December 2nd and secure your Black Friday BOGO deal.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast and to the rest of the country, including us here in the Central Time Zone in Alabama. Thanks so much for streaming in as we get ready to go to Joint Base Andrews for the first event of the day. So First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance will participate in a care package event at Joint Base Andrews. So as soon as we see some activity there, we'll go there live. At 1 o'clock, the White House has a press briefing today. Now, that was put on the president's schedule just this morning. So last night, the only thing that was on the president's schedule today was a 4 o'clock event where the president signs congressional bills in the Oval Office. That event right now is listed as closed press. If it opens, we'll be here for it. There's also some talk about another availability a bit later around 5 o'clock. So we're working to confirm things. We'll see what happens a bit later in the day as we're just getting started here, Monday, December 1st of the work week. And many people going back to work today after hopefully a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I know that it was nice to watch the New York City Macy's Day Parade just out of tradition the other day, and then the dog show that follows. Unfortunately, New York City just not on the right side of history right now with Mamdani being in office. It reminds me of speaking with the Staten Island Young Republican Club, the President Robert Burkhead the other day, and they're just not happy with that, of course. They've talked about seceding from New York City, Staten Island. Will that happen? Who knows? Are you for that? Are you against that? We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we're seeing a little bit more activity there. Why don't we do this? Let's just take it live to that event there, and we'll be back to talk some more about what's going on in our world. All right, so once again, we're monitoring that live event there at Joint Base Andrews. We're going to see the First Lady, Melania Trump, and of course the Second Lady, Usha Vance, as they participate in this care package event. Then, as you see at the bottom of your screen, 1 o'clock, we'll go to Washington once again there for the press briefing. What a way to start the work week when it comes to right out of the gate at a press briefing with a number of the fake news press in there. Of course, some conservative media, which is always good to see. And we'll see how that press briefing goes. Again, that's at 1 o'clock. A bit later, the president will be signing some congressional bills at 4 o'clock at the Oval Office. Right now, it's listed as closed press, so it won't be live. But sometimes, at the last second, it's open press. And if that's the case, we'll bring that to you live on this Monday, December 1st. In the meantime, listen, I would listen to Christmas music all afternoon with you guys. Definitely have some of that playing at the house. Decorating a little bit at the Alvarez household. Anyway, let's go over something that we've talked about a lot over the past, I don't know, couple years, it seems. But the GOP platform, the president's promises to the American people. These are 20 core promises that is the playbook for the White House. And, you know, will they all happen? That's the question. Because there's things that hold people up from doing things, right? What if, it takes something to pass through with Congress? Will it pass or what will hinder various things? We'll get into some of that in just a second because we're seeing some live activity there. Let's go there now.
But I'm the Vice President of Service to the Armed Forces for the American Red Cross. I'm also a U.S. Marine combat veteran and Gold Star father. On behalf of the Red Cross, I want to welcome each of you and express our sincere and profound gratitude to all the volunteers that are here today and to all our Red Cross volunteers around the globe taking care of our troops and their family. I want to also extend our deep appreciation to First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance for their leadership in bringing this event to fruition. The Red Cross had the honor of partnering with Mrs. Trump at this event in the past, and we are thrilled that she reached out to us to continue to hold this event to support the men and women of the military and to share just a little bit of home with them as they serve our nation in faraway places. And we're also delighted to have Mrs. Vance join us in this effort to bring attention to the sacrifices made by those in all branches and to let them know they are not far from our thoughts. Mrs. Trump and Mrs. Vance, I'm inspired by your patriotism and willingness to express your love for our military and their families by participating in this event here today. The Red Cross was born from the unique vision of another extraordinary woman, our founder, Clara Barton. Her overarching desire was to serve those who defend our nation, and we look forward to continuing this work with you to honor our nation's military members and to support their loved ones. And I can say from experience as a U.S. Marine combat veteran, these comfort kits that we're putting together today do indeed make it less easier to navigate the challenges of being deployed. Since my Marines and I were the recipients of these very care packages, this event is quite meaningful and quite humbling to me. 20 years ago, my Marines and I were in combat in Ramadi, Iraq. And it's the last time I received these care packages, and I remember coming back to this area in Andrews Air Force Base for our wounded Marines. And finally, just a comment, it's kind of hard to describe the meaning of the handwritten notes that you'll put together today, especially for Marines and especially for all branches that are downrange when, in some cases, tomorrow's not guaranteed. It gives a sense of hope. Speaking of the Marines, it is my honor to introduce someone who knows firsthand how critical it is to support those who serve in the armed forces. I am referring to the Second Lady, Usha Vance, who is the wife of a U.S. Marine and Vice President J.D. Vance, who served in Iraq about the same time that I did. By being here today, Mrs. Vance is demonstrating just how important it is to her to ensure that our troops know that their sacrifices are never forgotten. Please join me in extending a heartfelt welcome to our nation's Second Lady, Usha Vance.
really special to be here today, and I want to extend my thanks to Dr. Jordan for bringing us together today for this event that I'm so excited for, and for everything that you do for the Red Cross. And I hear that there is a retirement just a couple weeks down the line for Dr. Jordan. So can we all offer him a round of applause for 13 years? I'm also particularly grateful to be here today at Joint Base Andrews. I always look forward to returning to America's airfield and to the incredible community that supports its mission every day. JD and I are inspired every time we fly by your care and professionalism and are deeply grateful for your service. The care packages that we're assembling today are part of a proud and enduring tradition. The Red Cross began distributing these packages during World War I and has continued that work ever since. Each year, more than 220,000 active duty and veteran families also receive Red Cross assistance wherever they are, whenever they need it. It's an honor to contribute to that legacy of service today. As we enter the holiday season, may we be reminded of our shared responsibility for our communities, our neighbors, and our nation. And may we continue to lift up those who serve and sacrifice for our country. Today's event would not be possible without our remarkable First Lady. She has shown a deep and enduring commitment to the well-being of children and families, especially within our military. Her efforts bring hope and support to countless households, and her example inspires all of us to serve our communities with care and compassion. It is a privilege to stand here with her today. Please join me in welcoming our First Lady, Mrs. Melania Trump.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Usha, for your kind introduction and for joining us today. And thank you, Dr. Jordan, for all what you do, and good luck with your retirement and spending time with your family. It is wonderful to be here at Joint Base Andrews. It is an honor to begin this holiday season with all of you. 12 days ago, I visited MCAS, New River, and Camp Lejeune to spend time with our brave Marines, military, connected students, and their families. I wanted to thank the team here at St. Andrews for supporting that important visit. Today, we are surrounded by people whose strength is often quiet, but always powerful. We speak regularly of the bravery of our service members, and we should. But we must also illuminate the bravery of those who walk beside them, the spouses who carry the weight of family life on top of their own dreams. Your lives require a resilience that few outside the military can understand. Moves that make you to take across the country and around the world. Holidays spent with an empty chair at the table. Milestones celebrated over screen because the person you love is thousands of miles away. And yet, through every transition, every deployment, every homecoming, you continue to show grace, determination, and unbreakable spirit. You keep life steady for your children. You manage homes, careers, finances, and schedules, all while giving comfort to your family. You carry this extra responsibility because you love someone who has sworn to serve. Today, we are here with the American Red Cross, which has stood beside military families for generations. The Red Cross supports our service members, veterans, caregivers, and survivors across the globe. We are grateful for all they do to support and strengthen our military families. As we celebrate this season of hope, I encourage everyone to also take care of yourselves. Your well-being is vital, not just for your families, but for your own future. Your journey matters, your voice matters, and your strength continue to inspire us all. Every package built here today is built with American values. Each represents liberty, love, community, and honor. Each is delivered with heart and love, the foundation of our great nation. May this Christmas bring peace to your homes, safety to those who are deployed, and gratitude in the hearts of every American who thanks you for your service and sacrifice. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
right, so you're seeing the live event there at Joint Base Andrews. Once again, you see the First Lady and the Second Lady of the United States of America there at Joint Base Andrews. This is a care package event at JBA, of course, on the heels of, the holiday season. Here we are. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving and some time off with family and friends. If you didn't have time off and you had to work through the holiday, thank you for doing so, especially those of you that are first responders and police and fire and all of the people in those kind of industries. And those that work in the media as well, especially on the conservative side of things. I remember back in the day working in good old mainstream media and some of the local stations, working on Christmas Day, working on New Year's Eve, working on Thanksgiving, because news doesn't stop. But the thing that's great now is that we're able to still show you various events that happen on Truth Social, on X, on Rumble, on YouTube. The crew actually posted a video just from over the weekend or over the holiday break when President Trump was speaking about various things. So, yeah, the news doesn't stop, but here we are. It's December 1st, Monday, December 1st, 12:41 Eastern Time. You see right there the First Lady of the United States, of course, Melania Trump. By her side is the Second Lady, Usha Vance. Now, at 1 o'clock, so in about 18 minutes, we'll be seeing the White House press briefing. And I was figuring out if I wanted to say the following or not, but I think, I have no sources for this, but I would think today would be a day that maybe President Trump shows up to the press briefing room. Who knows? It's a wild guess. Again, opinion only. I have no facts on that. You might ask, well, why share it? Again, it's just an opinion, and that's all it is. Maybe it'll happen. I'm not saying it will, but it'd be interesting if President Trump shows up to that press briefing today. And if he doesn't, we do know later in the day there's a 4 o'clock and a 5 o'clock event that are closed press right now. So we'll see if we'll see the president at all today live. All right, so it's 12:42 Monday, December 1st. Thanks so much for live streaming in with us. We just saw that Breaking 911 posted our video feed live, which was great to see some of that as we see the First Lady there. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors. In the meantime, we have a live interview coming up in just a second as well as we get ready for that White House press briefing. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. So tomorrow is the last day for the buy one, get one free sale. So if you're looking to buy ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, and you want to get one free, you can do that right now with All Family Pharmacy. So it's that Black Friday BOGO event, and that sale is here at All Family Pharmacy. So we know this. RSBN viewers know the importance of readiness, and we don't wait for someone else to step in. We take responsibility for our health, our families, and our future. So it's simple. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can place your order, and then a licensed physician will review it. Once approved, your medication ships directly to your home, fast, private, and reliable. And this Black Friday event lasts just 1 week, which most of it's done. Tomorrow's the last day. So if you believe in preparedness and protecting what matters, just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for the BOGO event, Black Friday sale. All right, Monetary Gold as well. Obviously a great sponsor here at the network, because all you have to do is call the number or just go to the website that you see on the screen. You'll get a free info kit. And gold right now, holy smokes, the Troy ounce per Troy ounce right now, past $4,000 for gold. So every major financial disaster, of course, begins with a few simple facts that a lot of people ignore. Back in 2007, it was that overextended credit, reckless lending, misplaced faith that, quote unquote, everything will hold. Well, as you guys know, it didn't. So today we're dealing with some of those same indicators. And what we know is that for more than 25 years, Monetary Gold has guided Americans through every economic storm with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and one constant truth, that real value endures when paper confidence fades. So you can study the evidence and act on reason. Just call 888-617-7994 or go to rsbnforthegold.com. You can get that free info kit on gold. Also, silver above $50 right now. So a lot of records being broken within gold and silver. If you'd like to have better tasting water, healthier water, that's the product for you. $250 off right now for that holiday sale as well. So just go to covepure.com/RSBN. If you like tap water, you don't need to listen to what I have to say here on this one. But if you, I don't even know what I just said there. Did I say if you don't like tap water? If you don't like tap water, this is perfect for the situation there, where you get to have all of the 99.9% of the water, of the chemicals in the water, they get taken out from that great machine there. So it's covepure.com/RSBN. Drink pure, live pure. $250 off. Great product there on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 12:40 at 3 different live locations, including a 4th live location here in Alabama. Dusting off the cobwebs. We're having a few days off, man. It was nice to spend time with family in northern Georgia, but we're back at it. You see the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, there at Joint Base Andrews. Then you see, of course, the press briefing room on the top right, bottom right, outside of the north lawn of the White House. A lot going on just on this December 1st. We're going to see, again, Karoline Leavitt at 1 o'clock. Then we will possibly see the president at 4 o'clock. There's a congressional bill signing that he's going to do, according to the president's public schedule, listed for 4 o'clock, listed as closed press currently. And then at 5 o'clock, there looks to be some sort of meeting going on about Venezuela. So we'll see what's open press, closed press. We'll see what happens. We'll monitor it here on the network. It's 12:47, Monday, December 1st. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for streaming in with us. If you'd like to follow Right Side on X, just go to @RSB Network or on Truth Social @RSBN. If you'd like to follow me on X, it's @MatthewUSMedia. And on Great Truth Social, it is @Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for live streaming in. A lot going on again on this December 1st as we cover the news that's happening out there. So let's go over a few of the news headlines that we're looking at, and then we'll have our live interview coming up any second from now. First, we're seeing some headlines out there that there are 11 U.S. warships and 15,000 troops now in the Caribbean as Venezuela tensions escalate. That's a quote from a headline from the New York Post. We're also monitoring the DOJ has until December 19th to fully release the Epstein files. Another important story, as you guys know, is that of election reform. We'll see when that all gets talked about and hopefully put into law for our country. All we want is free and fair elections, right? That would be great. We also want a few other things too, things like indictments when it comes to those that have broken the law with, there's receipts and evidence out there for that. The 2020 election, subverting the will of the people. Of course, that spoken by the DNI Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, saying that that's what happened in 2020. We know how that election went. So there's just a lot going on. Even though it's, the holiday season, we still know that this is a fight for freedom. This is a fight for our country. We don't want to wind up like many countries out there. We don't want to wind up like some of the countries that are going in the direction of Marxism and communism and mass migration and all the things. We simply want to stay based in the United States Constitution. Speaking of that, Director, do we have that interview with this guy that we met over the weekend at an event in Georgia? He was the tour guide at the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame, which we stopped by after visiting in northern Georgia. And he had some pretty cool things to say, and he had a great hat too. It said "We the People" on it, talking about freedom. So let's just take a look at that interview from over the weekend.
I think obviously we need people that really understand what freedom's all about, and be very careful about who they vote for and who they put in office. That will do everything they can to protect our freedom and really support the Constitution of the United States.
Right? We the people. It's common sense stuff that we want to protect here in this country, not only during this 3.5 years that we have with President Trump, but onward into the future. Also coming up next, a U.S. military intelligence analyst and an author of a best-selling book, Putin's Playbook, and the host of Daily Intelligence Brief is Rebecca Koffler. She was born in the Soviet Russia. Rebecca is a communism survivor, and her upcoming book is American Bolsheviks, the Persecution of Donald Trump and the Sovietization of America. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Yes, Matt, it's a pleasure to join you and your audience today here on RSBN.
And it's great to have you here. You know, I met you along with, 20, 30 other patriots, supporters of President Trump at Trump Tower in New York, New York. And I interviewed G. Van Fleet the other day, a person that escaped communism in China. And then I thought, wait a minute, I have Rebecca's information. And here we are. So, Rebecca, can you talk to us first about what that was like to be able to escape that terrible ideology called communism?
Absolutely. I'd like to preface it by saying that as a New Yorker, New York is my hometown right now. I'm just terrified with the fact that a communist from Uganda is about to become the mayor of New York City. Right. And the reason it terrifies me, obviously, is because I lived it. And this is the country, Soviet Russia, that no longer exists because it was destroyed by socialism. And socialism is just the first step towards communism. And basically, the people who are trying to present it like it's a very nice system, everything is free. Well, it sounds fabulous, right? Who wouldn't want that? Free healthcare, free this, free that, buses, grocery stores. But when everything is free, nothing is available. Why is that? It's because under that system, once you remove the incentive to produce something and do a good job producing it, which is what socialism does, right? When you make stuff free, well, you're going to bother to do a good job. All the people who are owning businesses, whether it's grocery store or restaurant, they're going to move, right? And you can't, like in New York, you can't really mandate like they did in Russia, right? To continue producing in good quantities sufficient for everybody. So basically, we didn't have enough of anything because the Communist Party, the members of the Communist Party, which was approximately 10% of the population, they have the first dibs on everything. And so what ends up happening is the free healthcare. Here's what it means, Matt. My teeth were drilled without Novocaine. And if you want to know about torture, this is torture. They actually strap you in to make sure you don't kick the doctor. Why is there not enough Novocaine? Well, because the dentist wants to make sure that his family, his daughter, get enough. And so whatever a person is in charge of, whether it's selling, bread or grocery, that person makes sure that your own family and friends have the first dib. And then there's just simply not enough for the rest of us. So there's lines for everything. There's never enough food. It was a nightmare. And this is why my mother always wanted me to go to America since I was a little girl.
And then on top of that, they get you with the emotional side of things. Like, hey, you get free this, free that. And once they get you there, then they want to hook your mind into their Marxist, terrible ideology. And so we're seeing that in some countries right now. We already know that China's like that now. But the point is, with their social credit score and all, but Ireland and the UK, they really love that. And I'm talking about not the people, just the people that are lording over them. And that's the only thing, to be real, Rebecca, the only thing that I care about the most when it comes to politics and all is that we simply keep the United States Constitution, the law of the land, and our freedoms here in this country. So what have you done, Rebecca, to help spread that word to the world?
Well, I speak and write regularly about censorship. Right now, what I feel right now, America is just turning into USSR 2.0. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you can no longer tell the truth. As you said, and when I just came here, this is one of the things that struck me. There's freedom to speak your mind. And it is only when you can speak the truth that a society can function as a normal society, which is the pillar of democracy, freedom of speech, right? So you mentioned the Trump Tower. There are so many New Yorkers, Matthew, who are actually Trump supporters and even MAGA people. And these are people regular, like you and me. They're lawyers, they're doctors, they work in big, like movie industries even, right? But they cannot share at their places of work that they support Donald Trump because they would lose their job. Just think about that. That is so frightening to me. And that's how they get you, right? So if you can't, you cannot say things how they are, and that's how this whole lie spreads, right? That's how they're able to get you saying, oh, you're going to get everything for free. This is what Mamdani said. We're just going to get government-owned grocery stores. Well, guess what? On a good day in the Soviet Union, there were probably 3 things in the grocery store, right? Some sausage and maybe some sour milk. Again, because there's just not enough. The system, once you eliminate motivation, once you and the state starts assessing the fruits of your labor, people are just stopping to work and do a good job. We had a joke back in the Soviet Union. They pretend to pay us and we pretend to work. And that's how the whole country eventually collapses. Yes, it sounds great. And people think, oh, we're just going to maintain that same level of care, like whether it's healthcare, we're going to have all the same huge variety of products and like food but eventually it's not going to happen tomorrow or even next month or next year, but eventually the whole system collapses. This is why the Soviet Union collapsed. It doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. You were talking about the movie industry before, and the great conservative and also actor, of course, Kevin Sorbo, posted the following on X yesterday. He took a quote from George Orwell. It says, quote, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it."
Absolutely.
Isn't that what's happening in some parts of maybe some parts of this country, definitely in other countries? We just don't want that happening here.
Correct, but it is already happening. The legacy media absolutely despises people who speak the truth. And it happens everywhere, but I have a personal experience with it. Since I am a former DIA intelligence officer, DIA is a military counterpart to CIA. We support the warfighter and we support our commander-in-chief in identifying foreign threats to U.S. homeland, right? And so I'm an expert on Putin's mindset and on Russian warfighting strategy, and I've been speaking for the past 4 years about the Russia-Ukraine conflict and how basically it is unwinnable for Ukraine. It's mathematically impossible. But because my expertise, and it's not just my opinion, I give actually an unclassified version of intelligence analysis. And why is it unwinnable? It's because from something that is called combat potential standpoint, which is calculated as the combination of the size of the armed forces, the size of the weapons arsenal, the military industrial complex's ability to scale up production through the duration of the conflict, and the defense economics ability to sustain that military industrial complex. Russia beats not only Ukraine, but entire Europe right now. And this is why Putin is not playing ball with us. But I effectively have been banned from the legacy media because I've said it for 4 years, whereas like the so-called experts, right, and who are not experts at all, right, all these various generals, they say, give more weapons to Ukraine. Victory is just right around the corner. And it's the same people, by the way, who told us for 20 years in Afghanistan, right? Let's just spend more money. And we lost $2.2 trillion of US taxpayer money, 6,000 American lives for the country. And it's in worse shape right now as before. It's ruled by the same lunatics, right? That run around wearing beach towels on their heads and like they're head choppers, those people. And so, but if you look at these generals and whoever claims to be an expert at their background, right, they sit on the boards of the military industrial complex. They actually profit from arming Ukraine. They profit from dead Ukrainians and dead Russians. And that's what happens because you're not allowed to tell the truth. It is only on networks like the new media networks like yours that I am free to speak. You give me airtime. I can no longer I'm no longer invited on those legacy networks because they don't want to hear the alternative, the real analysis. They don't want to hear the truth. They would rather keep pumping the U.S. taxpayer for more cash so that Zelensky and his corrupt regime can build golden toilets in their apartment. I assume your audience heard that, right? About the corruption scandal and all those things. And I've said it for years. Ukraine is just like Russia, right? It's just as corrupt as Russia. And Zelensky is miniature Putin because he also authorized assassinations. He outlawed all political opposition. He's not a legitimate president because his term expired back in May, and he does not want to hold elections. And so they're basically taking us for suckers, Americans, with this conflict.
And then, so from global news, let's shift now to domestic policy as well. So there are a number of things going on right now within just our country. And of course, it's easy to talk about the 30,000-foot view of, hey, we want to keep our freedoms. Well, we know we can do that through hard work, prayer, voting, securing our elections, but also rallying, the base. And without even saying how I think the base could be rallied, do you have any thoughts on what can really rally the base, that we can make sure that this midterm election in 2026 is victorious for us?
I actually do. What we need to do is get people like myself and like there are plenty of immigrants in this country, legal, honest immigrants who appreciate this country. They ran away. They fled those systems, right? There are people from Cuba. There are people from Russia, from China. We need to present our stories and tell the truth about the destructive nature of these socialism and this and all the lies, right? And open people's eyes, especially with the young people, right, who are so gullible, who have been indoctrinated in American universities in the ideologies that effectively anti-American ideology. And so we just need to go and educate people and make sure that they vote the right way, that they know the truth, right? Because regular people, I think people like you and me, like in your base and like MAGA people, they're actually very smart. They already know about the danger of socialism and communism. But it's the young people, believe it or not, smart young people, but they've been indoctrinating. It's almost like not their fault, but they are so brainwashed, just like I was brainwashed when I was a little girl. And it's only because of my mother who didn't agree with the communism. So parents now need to really tell the truth to their children, and people who are like MAGA people. And I know it's very difficult. Like you can basically no longer talk like to a leftist person because they're unreasonable. All they do is like they cannot argue on merits. They cannot hold the conversation. So they start attacking you and say these things deplorable or whatever. But we need like debate teams like to stand up, some education centers where we can, and I know Turning Point already does this sort of thing, but we need more people like Charlie Kirk who are able to calmly explain to the intelligent but brainwashed people how amazing American system is and how dangerous the socialist and communist system is.
100%. And it's detoxing from that brainwashing, from that indoctrination that needs to happen, because in the city that you're in New York City, it was only just north of 1 million people out of 8 million people that got Mamdani into office there. There was about 846,000 that voted for Cuomo. But yeah, it only took 1 million plus that were indoctrinated that said, yeah, let's go with this. But they'll realize probably how terrible it is to go that route. And not only socialism and communism, let's go with all the isms. We don't like deep stateism. We don't like globalism. We don't like mass migration-ism. Like, we don't want any of that crap. Let's be honest about it, right? Right?
Absolutely. And look, these people who came, and his team, right, who came to power, the jihadi, I call them, because, and I'm not like afraid of the word because there's evidence of Mamdani, speaking with these imams who want death on America, right? And they are not even lying. They are being straightforward with us what they want to do. They want to turn this country into a radical Muslim country and have Sharia law, govern this amazing land. And if you saw videos, what happened, the day after the election on Times Square, there were like hundreds of military age Islamic men, like, praying. And we know, even in the intelligence community, we know that radicalization is a big problem. These people come in order to convert Americans into these anti-American ideology, right? And so it's not going to happen overnight, but they're going to do it gradually. And if you look at how they're going about it, they're extremely patient, right? They first get elected into like Mamdani was an assemblyman, right? You would think that it's just kind of like a nothing burger position, but eventually these people move up. But we have an excellent example. Look at Europe. Look what happened to Europe, the Islamification of Europe, and they're now in key position. Not only the mayor of London, but the next prime minister, we assess, is going to be a Muslim, and it's not just a regular like good. A moderate type Muslims, because what happens is these are radicals. Because the normal Muslims, and I have normal Muslim friends, right? There are a lot of Albanians in New York, actually, and they're kind of secular Muslims. And my friend, his name is, I'm not going to say his name. I don't want him to lose his job. But his name is John, let's say. He says, Rebecca, this guy, he's not even a real Muslim. He's just an a-hole, like he's a jihadi. Because so I want to separate religions are welcome America, but not the radical kind that want to kill America, that want to educate or brainwash rather a whole bunch of foot soldiers. They're going to kill Americans, and that's already happening. And that's why President Trump closed the border, and he wants to stop all that migration, and he wants to deport these people. And I say, let's go for it. Let's get people who are not down with American values, who came here to turn America into, pardon me, the shithole that even the president said that they came from. Let's get them all out of here so we can keep our country free, and so we can keep our country normal, and so that others do not take advantage of Americans and don't kill Americans.
If you're just joining us, this is Rebecca Koffler. You can actually check her out on X as well. And Rebecca, it's a mic drop left and right with what you're saying right now. And again, this is, like you said, this information you're sharing would not ever make it on mainstream media. And that is the clear difference between conservative media and what that crap is on the left. It's a bunch of false narrative lies that we don't want to have as a part of our country. We hope that everything works out for our nation, but we have to stick to our truth here. And the truth is simple: God, family, country, freedom, truth, justice, and the American way. Your thoughts, since you have been involved with, some in the intelligence community, though, your thoughts about the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ in America right now, and getting people within those organizations on the right side of history, because we know that there's still deep state going on within that. It's terrible.
These deep state, Matthew, they're even more dangerous than the KGB. The CIA has gotten so bad, and I served as in the DIA, but I was exposed to the entire intelligence community. I actually, I briefed during the Obama's administration, his National Security Council. I briefed NATO. I briefed multiple U.S. commanders. But what happened eventually is this deep state started concocting the whole non-existent Russia collusion theory to basically frame President Trump and prevent him from becoming president, and then impeach them. And so the reason why CIA and FBI and a lot of these three-letter agencies are worse than the KGB is this. When I was growing up, we were terrified of KGB. We knew that you can't speak the truth, right? You can only either whisper or you can do like what we call kitchen conversations. You can only share, like my mother, before me and my sister would go to school, she said us, three things. Do not believe everything that your teachers tell you. She wanted to prevent us from being brainwashed. And do not share your family, what your family talks about, right? And so they were concocting all of those non-existent collusion theories. The real threat, they were not doing their job, right? Because look at this, China is now producing more of certain types of military hardware than we do. Russia is producing more drones in Ukraine than the United States and the type of drones, right? This is why, and if I may, I want to mention the article that I wrote. Putin has in the Telegraph, British Telegraph. I can still write. That's a conservative paper. It still takes my pieces. Putin has a strategy that would make NATO defenses useless. And why is that? It's because the Russians outproduce what the United States and Europe produces in terms of cheap drones with 50 to 60 ratio, okay? And that's why Putin knows he doesn't play with a ball with President Trump. We have no leverage because he knows that he cannot fight in Ukraine, right? And Europeans cannot fight because as one anonymity, one official mentioned, European official, if actually a war, direct war between Russia and NATO were to break out, we would run out our defensive missiles in a matter of weeks, right? Because like I said, the ratio of Russian drone manufacturing vis-a-vis our defensive missiles is 50 to 60, right? Basically what happens is we strike $1,000 targets with $1 million assets. So it's pure mathematics. And Putin is actually an economist in addition to being an attorney. And that's why he hired as his defense minister an economist without military background, so that they figure out the algorithm and they believe that they have the answer. And that's why they can only finish that conflict and have an agreement based on his terms, on Putin's requirements. And that is because we were sleeping at the wheel. We were sleeping at the wheel, our deep state, not doing their job, actually tracking foreign threats and developing counter strategies. Because weapons and technology, it doesn't win wars, right? We learned it in Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. We have the best military in the world, right? But we ran away out of Afghanistan because the homemade gadgets, I call them, the IEDs, the improvised explosive devices, they were mangling our forces. They were maiming our forces, mangling our military hardware. We have a petting zoo in one of the military bases where we collect military hardware from the battlefield to analyze it. You should see some of those tanks with like bottoms blown up by an IED. And that's what the adversary does because they're very smart. Just because Putin is vicious doesn't mean they're not smart. Putin is extremely smart. And our deep state, wasn't doing their job. And even now, when Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard are in charge, it's only like a handful of political appointees that are loyal to them. But the bottom, right, there's so many of them. There's like multiple ratio. They are still the deep staters because it's a lifetime of employment for them. You can't fire these people. And that's the danger. So we need to revamp the whole hiring process, right? This whole GN system. President Trump is trying to do that, but it's extremely difficult. They're like cockroaches there. They think that they want to preserve that, the gravy train, whether it's a gravy train in Ukraine for the deep state and for the elites or whatever. They want to preserve status quo, and President Trump wants to uproot that dangerous system, the deep state. So let's hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. We're hoping for the best with that. And then also, let's just go with Congress. How about term limits? I mean, this is not a career politician thing. $174,000 a year of our money, and then most of them aren't doing the greatest of work for we the people. So outside of that, let's go 30,000-foot view before we see Karoline Leavitt as we await the press conference there. Again, this is Rebecca Koffler. Rebecca, you escaped communism from the USSR. Is that the reason why you're diving into the truth like this and want to talk about it, because it's so awful and you don't want America to see what it was like in the USSR?
Absolutely, because, like I said, the socialism led to the collapse of the country in 1991. USSR no longer exists, right? And so that's what eventually would happen in America if we stop that. And the reason that the Soviets were able to maintain that system, right? Even though it only benefited the under 9% of the population who were communists. And they had different stores they had different grocery stores. They had everything in their stores. We had nothing. They were treated in separate hospitals, right? With all the medications and all the new technology that they used the hard currency to purchase from the West, because it's not producing anything. It was producing wonderful missiles, but by golly, they couldn't produce a toaster, right? Or microwave for that matter. And so the same thing will be happening here. And the reason why the Soviets were able to do that is because of all the lies, because they keep telling these lies. Oh, it's going to be free. It's going to be nice, right? But again, when everything is free, nothing is available, and the school indoctrinates the people, right? So people start believing it. And on the other hand, there's a very strong apparatus, right? You know, Putin, he's vicious, and he's a trained KGB officer. And that was for centuries like that in Russia. There's a very centralized, strong secret police, domestic, security services that will squash any kind of, free speech and telling the truth. And that's what I see going on here, except instead of the secret, but even the media right now, American media, New York Times, CNN, even Fox News to some extent has become the Pravda of America, because they're not telling us the truth. And so we are marching on that dangerous pathways. And I just want to warn Americans that this is a very, very dangerous pathway. It all sounds nice and wonderful. Who wouldn't want, everything free and rent, free? But listen to what Mamdani said. He said, we want to get rid of bad landlords. If we think that, and by we, he means the state. If we think that the landlord is not taking care of the tenants very well, right? We're going to take over that property, but that is private property, right? And that's what the Soviets did. We did not have private property at all. The state, everything, grocery store to the bus to everything, and we just can't have it happen here, because if you have an who's going to invent? There's going to be no Jeff Bezos, right, who invented the Amazon. And yes, he's a leftist, but everybody uses Amazon, right? So it's an achievement. There's going to be no Steve Jobs who has created an iPhone. There's going to be no strong pharmaceutical industry that has found, cure for AIDS, for example. And yes, pharmaceutical industry has its own deficiencies too. Capitalism is not perfect. Nobody said it's perfect, but it's the best system out there in the world. So, and we have America has cured effectively, cancer, let's say, with the exception of some rare types, right? Like pancreatic cancer. But people with cancer can live now because we have tremendous pharmaceutical industry and other benefits. But once you stop people from having and enjoying the fruit of their labor, they're going to stop creating. Innovation is just going to drop. This is why you see Russia and China, they usually steal our technology, including military technology. The Chinese send students here to America who study at our universities, right? Because they can't possibly think, because when you are not a free thinker, right, you can't be innovative because you're oppressed. You're constantly oppressed because you are thinking, and believe me, I lived that, right? Because you're constantly afraid of, like, of saying something wrong, and a neighbor reporting on you. You're constantly looking right, behind your shoulder, who is listening, like a neighbor is gonna like tell the authorities. And so you can't possibly, when you're not free, you can't innovate, you can't create, a toaster or a microwave. Like, and it seems like such a staple, right? In America, there's so many things that are wonderful. But once it's gonna all stop. Once you start appropriating, confiscating is the word, the fruits of your labor. People are smart, right? Nobody's gonna, if there's like you're not gonna wake up like at 5 a.m. in the morning and like work your butt off if you're not gonna be paid for it. So everybody ultimately becomes lazy, right? They just pay lip service. We pretend to work. If they pretend that they pay us, we're gonna pretend to work. And nobody cares. That's why the service is people are gonna become very apathetic. I don't know if it's the word, apathy, like will set in, and the whole society eventually collapses. And that's the danger that I absolutely do not want to happen in America. And look, I don't want my children to live in the same situation that I lived. And my American children, I want them to be American and enjoy the foundational truths that the founding fathers so graciously gave us.
Again, we the people, God, family, country, freedom, truth, justice, in the American way. That's what it's about. And we know, to your point, Rebecca, that there are a number of entities, ideologies that are trying to take down the lead country of the earth, the country that is about freedom, the country that in a majority here are Christian. There's obviously other faiths, but the point is that these other systems, they just want to tear it down, destroy it. We know that. We know we're preaching to the choir right now. But again, this is information that I believe is good to talk about, because again, it is an information war, just like, Alex Jones over there at InfoWars. It's true. That's a great name for something. InfoWars. That's what it's about. And finally, I just want to ask you, Rebecca, as we get ready to hear from Karoline Leavitt, swaying the court of public opinion, because we know that the left-wing media has always swayed you to the left, or at least many people to the left. That's that brainwashing aspect. How important is it for citizen journalism and conservative media to have a voice in the United States of America?
It is extremely important. I mean, one of the first things that the Soviets did was to make all the media state media, right? So they can brainwash. And so if we did not have new media, like RSBN, like, I don't know, War Room, right? Like the Charlie Kirk Show, like the citizen journalist, and we would not be able to learn the truth. They would hide it. And if President Trump did not win, we would have never found out everything that the deep state did, spying on Americans, and doing all these things. Basically, that KGB does. They're doing, the deep state is basically using Putin's playbook against conservatives. I mean, look, religion, they were after Catholics, right? But if the people don't know the Catholic, remember they were the IRS was after Catholics, the parents were called the terrorists and the extremists. And I had experience with that. I had 2 kids in the public school system until we pulled them out and put them to Catholic school. So if there's no new media and no citizen journalists, then the people would not know that goes on, and they would think everything is fine. And then one day, all of a sudden, you're converted to this grand, the workers and peasants paradise, as we call it. And but what happens, when they say, "Oh, everything is free, everybody's equal," yeah, everybody is equal except them. There's a small group of people, right? The elites, they're in charge of everything, and everybody else is equal, and they have nothing. It's only through conservative media, the new media, like some legacy media calls themselves conservative, but oh boy, they're not conservative at all. Because well, I want to say they don't tell the truth. They lie. Maybe I don't even know what that means, conservative. We just need people to tell the truth.
And that's exactly what it is. And I'm going to read that quote again that the actor Kevin Sorbo, he played in Reagan and all these other movies as well. He said, he quoted George Orwell. He's saying, the further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. So to your point, Rebecca, we are on the truth train. And we know that President Trump and many on the, America First train back in 15, 16, 17, 18, all the way through, we all support people that represent truth, right? And so as long as people stay on the truth train, we go for it. But if people go off to the side and we still want something else, like maybe more deep state arrest, maybe a number of other things, it's an interesting situation to navigate. But really, you have to be loyal to truth, right?
Absolutely. And if you're loyal to truth, if you speak the truth, then you can make a reasonable, logical assessment of a situation. Then you make a decision, who do you vote? What system do you support? Right? But if you don't have the truth, then you're misguided. That's when you vote for people like Ilhan Omar, who wants to destroy America. That's when you vote for Mamdani, or that's the situation that you get into in the Minneapolis, right? And because you are just not playing with the full deck if you don't have the truth.
It's so true.
So I want to mention, you mentioned Christianity, right? There's a reason why that are based and rooted in Western civilization and Christianity, they are prosperous. Look at the map, right? Look at the map and look at the countries that are, based on other religions, whatever those religions are, and look at, are they prosperous countries? Do they people, tell the truth? Do they thrive? No. Like there's a whole continent, if you think about it, that is such an economic mess. They kill people. They behead people. I mean, you constantly hear the news, they kidnap, the girls, in Nigeria, whatever. I mean, these are like, not even comprehensible. It's unconscionable, some of what those cultures do to their own fellow humans. So it's only Christian-based countries that are humane and prosperous.
It's true, but also a lot of the people in these countries, like Nigeria, like China, if they are a person of faith, maybe a Christian, they can't even practice their faith. So this really isn't about the people of these countries. It's more about, in my opinion, any government or any dictator or anybody that's going against common sense values for the people. No freedom. No, you can't believe in a God. Here's communism. That's your God, right? So
absolutely,
it really is the 8 billion versus the 800. I'm on the 8 billion side. Free world. Let's go freedom, right? Let's go freedom, Rebecca.
Absolutely. And that's why all these authoritarian regimes, the first thing they do, they outlaw God and religion. That's what the Bolsheviks did in 1917 in Russia, in the Soviet Union. They outlawed God. The country became atheist. And so we were not allowed to go to church to pray to God. And so my grandmother, actually, who was a believer, and the Russian people were believers until they were Christian. Until the Bolsheviks took over, killed the Tsar, and they made the country atheist. But my grandma was a true believer, Christian. She and my mom secretly baptized me, but I didn't know about it at all until I came to America and I became an adult. That my parents told me. because God is, these authoritarian regimes, they view God as dangerous, because if you believe in God, because they want you to believe in the state. And even some of the American politicians, they said the freedoms come from the state and not from God. And that's, to me, a frightening thing, because these are the words of socialists, communists, and Bolsheviks, and I can't believe they are in U.S. government, and they say those things, and some people believe them.
Rebecca, I'm so glad Jesus gets the last word at the end of the book. Rebecca Koffler, you're a rock star. Where can people follow you online?
I'm on all social media, especially on X, formerly Twitter. My handle is at Rebecca0132. 0132 is a code for U.S. intelligence in the GL system.
All right. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for spending about 45 minutes with us.
Absolutely. God bless everybody.
God bless you. Well, there you go. I mean, that's the thing. Again, all about truth, right? And you'll know the truth and it will set you free. That's the New Testament. That's what Jesus said, right? And I thought about that the other day. I was like, well, you got to know the truth to be set free. That's what it says in the word. You have to know the truth and then you'll be set free. So that's that whole thing of awareness and knowledge and research and having a brain, and we use it instead of just listening to the news media. They said the anchor on the whatever legacy media outlet that you'd like to put in that blank there. Good evening. Welcome to the news. This is what's happening out there. No, it's not. You've been lying to us for 25 straight years. How about 35 straight years? Isn't it interesting that they all want to get into the education system, the media, the movies, all the things? They want to pull in with that emotion. And you get the emotion. That's a strong thing, isn't it? And that's why people probably then they get brainwashed into thinking that this is the right thing because my favorite actor said so. The newsman said so. Bunch of crap. Anyway, it's 1:32. Looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt there at the White House. This press briefing scheduled for 1 o'clock Eastern time. Obviously, we're 32 minutes into the 1 o'clock hour. Looking forward to hearing from Karoline, and we'll see what kinds of questions some of the press ask in that press briefing room. All right, let's go over a few other items as we are awaiting Karoline Leavitt right now. Earlier, we saw the First Lady, Melania Trump, and Second Lady, Usha Vance. They were participating in a care package event at Joint Base Andrews. Of course, we're awaiting now this White House press briefing. A bit later, at 4 o'clock Eastern, the president will sign congressional bills in the Oval Office. And according to the president's public schedule, that's listed as closed press right now, meaning we won't be live with that. However, if we do see a live feed pop, that's where it shifts over to open press. We'll bring that to your attention on Rumble and YouTube and Truth Social and X and all over the place. And then, of course, you just heard from Rebecca Koffler there. She's a U.S. military intelligence analyst, author of a best-selling book, Putin's Playbook, and the host of Daily Intelligence Brief. You know, I ran into Rebecca and a number of other great patriots at the Trump Tower in New York, New York, some time ago. Great to have her on the show. Let's go to Karoline Leavitt now.
For my tardiness, we had some technical difficulties, as you could see, but I think we are ready to rock, so let's get to it. I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the presidents of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the President and the First Lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the Ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the President every day this week, so you have me today, and then he will take on the rest of the week himself. Next, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. a foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet, ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. One of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving is a reminder that untold thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day. The border is now secure, thanks to President Trump, but the threat in our interior remains real and urgent. These public safety threats are already inside our land. And President Trump was elected on a promise to find and remove them. And he has already taken significant steps and made significant progress towards fulfilling this promise. But there is more work to be done because President Trump believes that he has a sacred obligation to reverse the calamity of mass, unchecked migration into our country. As a result, the Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. Any individual who threatens our national security or our citizenry will be subject to removal. President Trump has already permanently paused migration of foreign nationals from third world countries that pose a very high risk to the United States. For too long, past American presidents supported self-destructive immigration policies that allowed foreigners who outright hate our country and have no interest in assimilating into our culture. They've allowed these individuals to flood peaceful American communities. This disastrous approach has drained our welfare program, driven up the cost of housing, suppressed wages, and jeopardized the safety of law-abiding American citizens. In fact, according to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well, and I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so. With that, I will open it up to questions, and we'll lead today with Isabel Brown, who is in our new media seat. She's a very popular face on television these days. She's built a great independent media podcast and platform with the Daily Wire, and I appreciate your being here, Isabel. Thank you for being here.
Caroline, appreciate it, and appreciate the briefing. Many Americans, in light of these recent events that you just mentioned, are starting to say that we are being invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front. And it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month. But we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right; it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you. Gabe.
Caroline, excuse me, regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, Does the administration deny that that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe. A statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro of?
You're cherry picking the a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday, the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former President Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Following up on Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
And then on this pardon for the Honduran president, does it at all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco-terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for your members to defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from coming to our borders, whether that's by land or by sea. And he's also made it quite clear that he wants to correct the wrongs of the weaponized Justice Department under the previous administration. And Ouija, I'll call on you because I think we're wearing matching blazers today. Great minds. Great minds.
Thank you, Caroline. So just to be clear, to clarify on Jackie and Gabe, did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco-terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject the Secretary of War ever said that. However, However, the president has made it quite clear that if narco-terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing. Danny?
Follow up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So there you go. Danny.
Thanks, Karoline. Just going back to Venezuela, can you confirm that President Trump is going to be hosting a meeting of his national security team in the Oval Office today on Venezuela? And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort, I will confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander-in-chief. It's part of his responsibility to ensure that peace is ongoing throughout the world. I'm definitely not going to detail the specifics of a meeting between the president and his national security team that's taking place in the Oval Office, but I'm happy to confirm that meeting is taking place for you.
Can you tell us, is there still, what's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative
in Venezuela? I think my plans, there's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table, and I'll let him speak on those. Ed.
The U.S. announced a trade framework deal with the United Kingdom on pharmaceuticals, where they will pay 25% more, and the savings theoretically will go back to American consumers. What guarantees are in that savings will in fact go back to the American consumer and not be sucked up by the company?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. Answer to that question after the briefing.
So the American Rescue Plan, funded a number of universal income.
Kush will get you that answer, right, Kush? My trade guy over here.
The American Rescue Plan funded a number of universal basic income programs. Now Cook County, Illinois is extending that program into 2026 with $7.5 million of taxpayer money. What does the White House think about that?
Answer on that after the briefing, Ed.
Go for two.
Go ahead. Sure.
And then in the interest of transparency, does the White House support releasing the Department of Defense's video of those September 2nd strikes on those military boats? And also, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David Gentile recently? He was a private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. Prosecutors said he defrauded $1.6 billion with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made. Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then you.
In wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president made good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead. Sure.
First on the Venezuela strike, you said that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and then second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
On immigration, during your topper you said, and I quote, leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. Can you explain what you mean by our nation's national identity and integrity and character, and how would refugees, people coming from war-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore. Rachel.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. Just to follow back up on the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors. Was there a change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that these two survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, two people were rescued and returned to Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal underway?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further if he wishes to on the details of that conversation that took place.
Steve Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida, and now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We've put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined, but as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate, but we do feel quite good, and we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I've got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andriy Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources in Ukraine. What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation, and how is that impacting peace talks?
Well, look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO that are being sent to Ukraine. That's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims, or the roughly 1 million people from the 18 other countries of concern, know about what's going on in the review? What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously, because we are not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Karoline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to
Thank you
and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have 2 questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we don't get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Sure. I can tell you things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort, and I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications, and then of course the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these 2 brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort, and I think unfortunately these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that, sure.
Follow up. The White House today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that, ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks, and are you also going to name some of the correspondents, some which may be here today?
Yes, we are. I'm glad you noticed. Much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place, and it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And, you know, the standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, zero credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard this. And then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right, and there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all and to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false, and it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same reporter who wrote this: Biden is doing 100% fine after tripping while boarding Air Force One. Oh, same outlet, same reporter who wrote that President Trump is not fit for the job. Are you kidding me? You all see him almost every single day. He is the most accessible president in history. He is taking meetings around the clock. Another one. Biden declared, quote, healthy and vigorous after his first presidential physical. I don't see headlines like that too often about this president. Again, same reporter, same outlet who wrote falsely over the weekend that President Trump is not fit for the job. I can assure you he absolutely is. You all see that with your own eyes on a daily basis, and the president's physician has now given you all 3 detailed reports on the state of the president's health. So with that, I will leave you all, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, there you go. You saw that live there at 2:10 Monday, December 1st. Karoline Leavitt with the mic drop at the White House press briefing. At 4 o'clock today, the president signs congressional bills in the Oval Office. Right now, it's listed as closed press. If it opens, we'll be here live with it. The upcoming presidential schedule. Tomorrow, the president will hold his 9th cabinet meeting at the White House. Later in the afternoon, tomorrow, the president will make an announcement about Trump accounts for the next generation of Americans to give them a jump start on savings. On Thursday, the presidents of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo will be at the White House to sign a peace and economic agreement that President Trump brokered. On Thursday night, the president and the first lady will participate in the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the Ellipse. And then on Friday, the president will attend the FIFA final draw at the Kennedy Center. So a lot going on this week, and that's without any kind of breaking news and the 24/7 news cycle and all the things, as they say. Glad you've been with us. We've been live for a number of hours today. Thanks so much for watching this live stream. It's all brought to you by some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. You see there, it's Cyber Monday, I guess, right? So the special offers are there. Save up to 80%. Use that RSBN promo code. A lot of great items, of course, and products with mypillow.com. A shout out to the great Mike Lindell. Also, let's shift over to an opportunity, if you'd like, to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see there, text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. It's 2:11. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for live streaming in. If we're live later today, we'll see you again. If not, for all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we'll see you soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.